The morning mist clung to the twisting mountain road like a heavy shroud, curling around every bend and blanketing the trees in a hush. It was the kind of mist that made the world feel suspended, caught between night and day. The sun hadn't fully risen, casting only a dim glow that painted everything in shades of gray. Inside his car, Detective Ethan Cole gripped the steering wheel tighter than he realized. His knuckles were pale, his eyes heavy from a sleepless night that refused to release him. Then something flickered in the fog. A blur, a shape, small, still. He leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. At first, he figured it was a branch or a pile of roadside trash, something ordinary. But then it moved. His instincts took over. He hit the brakes hard. The tires skidded slightly on the gravel shoulder as the car jolted to a stop. Hot coffee sloshed out of his cup and soaked his sleeve, but he barely noticed. He was already out of the vehicle, boots crunching on damp gravel. The air outside was cold and sharp, and the fog swirled low along the pavement. Ethan stepped forward, scanning the haze. That's when he saw it clearly. A dog stood in the road, large, motionless, and broken. A German shepherd. The sight made Ethan's breath catch in his throat. Duct tape was wound around the dog's head, blindfolding its eyes. Blood matted its legs and paws. Dirt and gravel stuck in the dried mess. The dog looked like it had walked through fire and storm. Its ribs poked sharply beneath its filthy coat, rising and falling with each shaky breath. But what truly held Ethan still wasn't just the pain etched into the animal's posture, it was what the dog carried. Hanging from its mouth was a torn, dirty yellow satchel, clutched as if it were sacred. The way the dog held it reminded Ethan of a soldier protecting a fallen comrade's gear, unwilling to let go. "Easy now." "Easy, boy," Ethan said gently, lowering himself into a crouch. His voice was calm, careful. The dog didn't growl, didn't flinch. It stood there, barely able to hold its weight, yet it stayed on its feet, waiting, like it had been standing for a reason. Slowly, Ethan reached forward and took hold of the satchel. It was heavier than he expected. He unzipped it with a growing sense of dread. Inside was a worn spiral notebook, its edges frayed, the cover cracked. Bold, uneven letters were scribbled across the front. "My name is Sophie Miller. I am 7 years old. If you are reading this, Buddy found you. Please don't let him stop. We need help." The words hit Ethan like a punch. His hand froze on the page. His throat tightened. Each letter was filled with urgency, hope, and a child's fear. This wasn't just a note. It was a message in a bottle tossed into a storm. Someone small was crying out, and this dog, this shattered, blindfolded dog, was the messenger. Ethan looked back up at the shepherd. The animal stood firm, bloodied but unshaken. There was something unspoken in its stillness, a kind of courage he had seen in first responders, in rescue workers crawling through rubble, refusing to stop even when the odds said they should. Ethan recognized that same spirit now. This dog hadn't stumbled onto the road by accident. He was still on duty. As if sensing Ethan's change in awareness, the dog tilted its blindfolded head slightly toward him. In that moment, Ethan didn't see a broken animal, he saw a vow, a living promise, a whisper of something still holding on. And just like that, something deep within Ethan cracked. Not out of pity, but memory. He'd held a bag like this once before, but back then, he had been too late. Not this time. "Buddy," Ethan whispered, voice thick with emotion. "You didn't give up on her. I won't give up on you." In response, Buddy's tail moved, just once. A soft thump against the road. Ethan drove fast but carefully, one hand gripping the wheel, the other resting lightly on Buddy's back in the passenger seat. The dog lay curled, exhausted but still alert. Between them sat the yellow satchel, no longer just a bag, but a symbol of trust. When they reached Cedar Pines Veterinary Clinic, the rising sun had just begun to break through the trees, turning the fog gold. Dr. Lavra Castor was unlocking the door as Ethan pulled up. She blinked at the dog in shock, her professional calm quickly replacing any sleepiness. "What on earth happened to him?" she asked, waving them inside. "He found me," Ethan said, placing the bag gently on the counter. "And he brought this." Lavra didn't ask questions. Her hands went straight to work, checking wounds, assessing injuries. When she scanned Buddy's neck, a small beep sounded. She looked at the screen and frowned. "He's chipped. Service dog search and rescue. Name's Buddy. Retired 3 years ago." Ethan's eyes moved to the scars from the tape on Buddy's face. "Still serving," he said softly. Lavra worked with swift precision, stitching, cleaning, wrapping. Meanwhile, Ethan opened the notebook. The second page was stained, and the handwriting trembled with fear. But every word gripped him tightly. "Buddy won't eat unless I eat first. We sleep on the cold floor. The bad man locks the door when he's angry." Ethan's jaw clenched. These weren't childish ramblings. They were survival notes. A record of fear. He glanced at Buddy, who still hadn't lain down. Still standing. Still pushing forward. "You didn't just lead me here," Ethan whispered. "You brought me her trail." Buddy's ears twitched. A small acknowledgement. Lavra placed her hand on Buddy's back, her voice low. "He won't last long. If there's something you're going to do, it has to be now." Ethan closed the notebook with a firm snap. The words still echoed in his mind. A child's voice carried across time and pain. He looked at Buddy, blind, broken, and yet defiant. "Then we move now," he said. "Show me where she is, boy." Buddy swayed but didn't collapse. He pushed to his feet. That was all Ethan needed. The fog had started to lift as they turned off the highway. A narrow dirt road snaked into the forest ahead. Buddy sat upright in the seat, nose twitching like he was following a thread only he could smell. Ethan parked, stepping out into the hush of morning. The woods felt too still, as if the forest itself was listening. Buddy leapt from the car, unsteady, hurting, but moving. "Show me," Ethan said, and Buddy did. But there was something deep in the dog's eyes that made Lily's tiny hand stop moving. It was like a quiet message reaching past words, settling gently right inside her small chest. A feeling she didn't fully understand, but one she felt just the same, a weight she couldn't name. It wasn't sadness exactly, but it made her eyes prick with tears and her heart feel like it was folding in on itself. Somehow, just looking at that dog made her hurt. Even though she was so small. Emily glanced around at the people who had started, gathering quietly nearby. Their faces were no longer blank or distracted by their phones. No one was scrolling or rushing away. Instead, they were really seeing not just the dog or the little girl, but something deeper happening between them. Emily could feel it in the silence, in the way people's shoulders relaxed, in the way some gently set their phones down without picking them back up. There was something in Lily's tiny, simple act of offering her own drink to a dog most others ignored that tugged at something inside all of them. Maybe it was kindness, maybe sorrow, or maybe it was a quiet reminder, one that sneaks up on you, of who they used to be before life taught them to look the other way. Emily's throat tightened with the ache of that reminder. She felt it too, that strange, beautiful pain that comes when you realize compassion still lives in small, quiet places. Sometimes it takes a child to bring it back to the surface. And Max, the dog, felt something shift inside him as well. He had long forgotten what kindness looked like, forgotten how it felt to be offered something gentle instead of taken from. Hunger had become normal, loneliness safe. But this small girl's quiet gift stirred something buried deep inside him. Was goodness still real? Could hope still grow where everything else had died? He didn't know. But in that moment, for reasons he couldn't explain, he wanted to believe. Max's eyes stayed locked with Lily's wide, steady, unblinking, as if trying to understand her. He had looked into many eyes before, eyes hurried and hardened, full of indifference, but never eyes like these. These were eyes without fear, eyes that asked for nothing, eyes that saw him and didn't look away. Then Lily did something no one expected. She cried silently, no sobs, no sound, just one tear slowly sliding down the curve of her round cheek. She didn't know why she cried. She didn't have the words for sorrow or loneliness or the quiet ache that filled the space in front of her. But something in Max's eyes had reached deep inside her, touching a place too young to name, yet old enough to feel. The tear hung on her chin for a moment, then fell softly onto the back of her hand. Max didn't flinch. He simply watched her, his ears relaxing, his body easing just a little, as if the sadness they both carried had finally found a place to rest. And then, so gently it almost didn't happen, he leaned forward and rested his forehead against Lily's tiny knee, not because he was giving up, but because he was letting go. Around them, the city sidewalk grew quiet. No one laughed. No one filmed. No one moved to interrupt the moment. Emily's hand, which had hovered just behind Lily's back, slowly moved forward, not to pull her away, but to steady herself. Tears welled up in her eyes, mirroring her daughter's. She wasn't just watching a simple moment of connection. She was watching healing, a quiet, raw, and real healing unfold between two beings who couldn't speak the same language, but somehow understood each other completely. And in that fragile silence, something lost was found again. Sometimes, the smallest hearts carry the heaviest love. From the edge of the crowd, a soft voice spoke, a calm, steady voice filled with knowing. "I work with the rescue," said a woman stepping forward carefully. She wore a faded blue vest with a paw print sewn near her shoulder and a crooked name tag pinned to her collar. Martha. Her eyes looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but from years of seeing animals like Max and knowing how few ever got moments like this. "If it's okay," she said gently, kneeling slowly so she wouldn't startle him, "I'd like to help him." Emily looked up, tears spilling freely down her cheeks. "Please," she whispered, her voice shaking but firm. "He needs someone." Martha nodded, never breaking eye contact with Max as she stretched out her hand, palm open and waiting. Max stared at her fingers for a long time. He didn't growl or pull back. He just watched. Then, in a small, fragile act of trust, he leaned forward and sniffed her hand. "That's it," Martha said softly, her voice like a warm hug. "You're okay, buddy." Lily watched quietly from her mother's lap, her small hand still resting gently on Max's back. Martha glanced at her and smiled softly. "You did something really special today," she told the little girl. "You reminded him not all people turn away." "Thank you, sweetheart." Max took another shaky, uncertain step. His legs wobbled beneath him, thin and weak from lack of use. But when Lily clapped her hands once, softly and gently, he took another step. Then another. By the fourth step, he was moving forward toward help, toward safety, toward something that felt almost like hope. Martha carefully slipped a soft slip lead over Max's neck, making sure not to scare him. "We'll take care of him," she promised quietly. "We'll make sure he's never invisible again." Emily gathered Lily close, holding her tight as if to protect this fragile moment and her little girl. Lily didn't resist. She nestled into her mother's shoulder, eyes still fixed on Max as he walked slowly beside Martha toward the rescue van waiting nearby. Each step Max took was unsteady but sure, like someone learning to move forward again after standing still for far too long. When they reached the van, Martha paused. She opened the back doors carefully. Inside, blankets and supplies were neatly arranged ready for second chances. With a gentle word and a comforting pat, she helped Max inside, but just before he disappeared behind the doors, Max turned back. His eyes scanned the crowd and stopped on Lily. For a single silent moment, they held each other's gaze. Then Max's tail gave the smallest, gentlest wag. Not playful or excited, but full of quiet hope. Emily felt her chest tighten. She pressed her lips to Lily's forehead and breathed in the sweet scent of her hair, holding her a little closer. That simple last look between child and dog hung in the air like the softest note of a lullaby. People around them stayed still, hands on their hearts, wiping tears, unsure what had just happened, but knowing they would remember it for a long time. Not because it was dramatic, not because it went viral, but because it was true.